Cool. We are rolling. This is Indecisive Cinema, episode 21.
21.
We have moved back to the podcast format instead of video format because it's just very time consuming. To be totally honest, so we're moving back to the podcast format. We got a little bit better microphones, so hopefully the audio quality is a little bit better. We're still recording in a kitchen, so it's not the most ideal space for a podcast, but it's better than nothing. I'm here. My name's Jeremy Knight. I'm here with my co-host Carlos Hernandez.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Carlos Hernandez.
How you doing today?
I'm good. Good. It's a nice day out. A little breezy, but it's good today. How about you? What's going on?
I'm just busy. I'm tired. I shot 3 weddings last weekend, and it wore me the fuck out.
I'll bet.
We got a lot of movies to talk about, though.
Yeah.
We have 4 movies to talk about that are sort of new releases. Clovehitch Killer is one of them that came out actually earlier this year, and Leave No Trace came out earlier this year, but I'm just getting a chance to see them. We're also going to do Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is one of the new releases we have, and then Bird Box, which came out last month on Netflix.
Yeah.
I heard that it's going to get a theatrical release, but I don't know how true that is or not.
Yeah, I don't know why they would. Sometimes they do those small releases, like for Netflix movies do get like a week. Roma got like 2 weeks before it went on to Netflix.
Maybe that's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Roma got a theatrical release.
Which I hope gets a theatrical because I don't really want to see that in my house. But
Roma? I mean, it was released 2 weeks before. It was released on December 12th or 19th, around there.
Oh, did it already get its theatrical?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then on Christmas Day, it went to Netflix.
Gotcha. Well, hopefully they'll because it's gotten a fair amount of praise. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, okay, you haven't.
Hopefully,
Roma. Yeah. No, Roma, yeah, me either. I wanted to see it yesterday and I couldn't.
Hopefully we'll see that get some kind of theatrical run, but who knows? But yeah, we'll talk about Roma. I'll get a chance to see it sometime, probably this week or something. But because there's not much in theaters going forward for the next month or so, because we're in January.
Yeah,
we're recording this January 6th. Obviously, we're going to do top 10s as well in this episode. Though I have like 15 and some honorable mentions, so who knows how long that'll take. But we're going to get to those after we get through those reviews, and then we'll intro the top 10s when we get there. But how many did you come up with?
I did a top 10 with one honorable mention.
Okay, cool, sounds good. So we've got we'll get to those later. But yeah, so let's get on with. I'm going to start with Clovehitch Killer.
Yeah, I'm interested.
We'll do the older releases first. Clovehitch Killer is a film about a young boy who lives in kind of a traditional family in a kind of rural but sort of suburban area. Probably, I think it's northwest in the country. I forgot. It's set in a fake town, but it's based on real events. And essentially, the son slowly discovers that his father may be a serial killer, and his father's played by Dylan McDermott, he's great in it. And the kid is Charlie Plummer. I forgot what else he's been in. Lean on Pete. That's about it. I think he's the lead in Lean on Pete, which I heard mixed things about, but I'm not a big horse fan. I think that's the horse movie, I believe.
Horse movie.
Yeah, it's the horse movie.
Horse.
There were 2 horse movies. There was the I forgot what the other one was that got like amazing reviews last year. I don't know.
Oh, last year, okay.
The Rider? I don't know. I think it was The Rider.
Yeah, something like that. Who cares?
Anyway, yeah. So this kid, Charlie Plummer's really good in it, actually.
Yeah.
So it's a movie kind of about what that would be like, kind of discovering that your father might be somebody that he's not, and and then because now that he has that information, kind of the interaction between him and his father going forward, and it's based on a true killer. I forgot the name of the actual killer. I don't want to spoil who it is because that would spoil kind of a little bit about kind of his motive and stuff like that. I think it's actually I read something that said it was pieced on like 2 different serial killers. I don't know. It's mostly one though that has been in a few other things I've watched recently. But anyway, it's a pretty decent film. I think the most interesting stuff is definitely kind of that dynamic between the father and son, and kind of obviously he looks up to his father, and now he's discovered that his father isn't who he thought he was.
Yeah.
And there's kind of that level of like, does he want to kind of admit that that's what that is, or if he wants to just ignore it and kind of move on with his life in kind of a traditional family. But obviously that's challenging to do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the more interesting stuff in the film. I think overall, the third act gets a little messy and a little morally ambiguous, and I don't really enjoy the direction that it heads in. But there's some interesting stuff along the way, and I think the performances are all good. Dylan McDermott's really good here.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see more. I just want more Dylan McDermott. I don't think we've seen anything from him since American Horror
I
Story.
was going to say
season
American
1.
Horror, so you get a lot of them.
Was he in any of the later seasons of that?
Well, let's see. He was not in the last one, which was Cult.
You're moving away from your microphone, by the way.
What?
You got to angle that microphone towards you.
Angle it toward me.
This is the first week where we have actual
like this.
Actual podcasting microphones.
So I don't think he was in Cult. I'm not sure about Apocalypse because I haven't seen Apocalypse. But yeah, I mean, unless he was I think he might have been a talk show host on Cult, but I'm not sure.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope to see more from him because he's really good here, and the movie's just, I don't know, it lacks kind of an edge that other kind of serial killer movies have. Like, I recently just watched Mindhunter, which isn't really a violent show, but it's definitely graphic in regards to kind of the discussions that they have with the serial killers and stuff like that. And I think this movie lacks kind of a bite to it that I wish, and not that I need like violence or anything like that.
I mean, for what you say, it's more of a father and son story, so I guess maybe that's why they didn't do that. But,
totally, and so it's hard to fault it for that, but because it isn't the kind of movie that warrants kind of a lot of violence, because a lot of it's just kind of him finding things that his father has left behind.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Even like the third act, like it builds tension and I don't know. It's just not that effective overall. And I think if this were a real story, it'd be a lot more interesting. But because it's a fictional retelling of it, which you could say about a lot of things, but I don't know. I didn't buy it. The kids, like I said, the performances are really good, but I just wasn't that engaged in it. I think the middle portion of the movie kind of meanders a little bit, but it's interesting. I think it's maybe worth seeing on Netflix or something.
Yeah,
like
I'll
that.
definitely check it out on Netflix. Yeah.
But anyway, that is Clovehitch Killer. Not horrible, but not spectacular either. So then we'll do Leave No Trace, which is the other kind of movie that's been out for a while. Leave No Trace is I think it's the second film from let me get the director's name, from director of Winter's Bone.
Yes, that's right.
Deborah Granick. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but Leave No Trace she's actually done a few films, but
Winter's Bone is what introduced us to Jennifer Lawrence. Supposedly
that was
movie
2010.
Introduced us into this girl, the girl in that film.
She did a movie called Stray Dog. I don't know. I haven't seen that. That's a documentary. Okay. But so she did that, and then Leave No Trace, which is a film about a father and his 13-year-old daughter that live inside of a national park, or at least an urban park. It's in the middle of somewhere in Portland, and they've been living here legally for who knows how long, and they've developed kind of routines, and part of the movie's title is Leave No Trace, which has more meaning than just the fact that they make every attempt to make sure that they don't leave any trace of their existence in this park.
In the park,
and so they have these, like I said, these routines to kind of practice making sure that you can disappear if you need to, if somebody is on to you or whatever. And so they live in these park. He sells medication that he has to make money in order to buy food and stuff like that. Yeah. And eventually they're found out. And they essentially are taken. I don't know if it's Child Protective Services. I don't know exactly what organization is. Yeah, sure. They attempt to kind of help move them into a home. And the film is kind of about Ben Foster, who's the lead and plays the father, kind of coming to terms with the concept of, does he, so I think he's a war vet. I forgot what branch or what he did in the war. It's not really that important, but he definitely has these nightmares and these kind of struggles with. There's a reason that they live in the woods. I won't get into too much detail about that, but he definitely struggles with transitioning from kind of the living in the wilderness to living in a kind of in a home in a traditional setting, but his daughter definitely longs to kind of have more of a normal life as she gets more of a taste of that. And so there's that kind of conflict that comes from that.
Mm-hmm.
And the performances here are just fantastic. And Ben Foster's really great. And,
Yeah,
the daughter is fantastic. Her name is Thomasin McKenzie. And I mean, the performances drive this whole movie. And I definitely think it's, for somebody like you who has kids, I think, I thought it was pretty moving just in general. And there's just some heartbreaking moments in it. And I think it's a really well-directed, really well-acted film. There's not much in terms of plot. The movie kind of, and that'd be my only complaint. I think it, the movie doesn't necessarily, it's not really about, like, there's not a big story happening here. It's about the dynamic between the two of them. If you're looking for a story, there's not much here. But there is, these characters are really interesting. They're really well drawn. And I think that's what makes the movie work. It's really good. I think people should see it. I rented it on Xfinity, but it's available on Amazon and whatnot. If it's on Netflix, definitely check it out.
Yeah.
It was on a lot of people's top 10 lists. It got like a 99% Rotten Tomatoes, which isn't a score, obviously. It's just a percentage of whether people that think it's a fresh or rotten movie, obviously. But it definitely, people love it. I don't know that I love it as much as them, but like I don't know if I even put. It's not gonna. We'll get to top 10s later, but it's not on that list for me.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I was gonna ask you that.
But it is very good, and I would recommend seeing it for sure because the performances are so damn good. Ben Foster's putting out great stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he's amazing. So, he's worth the cost of
Yeah,
rental.
luckily Hell and High Water's back on Netflix, and I can watch it since on Hulu it was like having problems streaming. But yeah, so
yeah, I mean, it was back with Hell or High Water, and then this. I mean, like he's definitely. I mean, he's been a pretty decent actor for a long time, but I mean, he's definitely gearing up and doing some really fantastic work. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. But that's Leave No Trace. Go see it where you can. I think it's worth doing. So, and then the next one we'll get to is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Have you seen this yet?
Not yet. Hey, we were going to see it in New York, and then my daughter went to my sister's house, so we didn't get to see it.
I forgot you went to New York.
Yeah.
How was that?
New York is New York, and it was good. We had a good time. It was two of my mom and my sister, and visited friends, and it was like really quick because this year we only had really 5 days because you don't count the day we got in and the day we left. So. I just, day one was just visiting Delano, and he's moving to Chicago. He's got a job as a professor in the the University of Chicago. And Sunday I hung out with my godson's family, and then Monday with my sister. We had a traditional Jewish Christmas Eve, and then my mother's house on Christmas Day, and then Wednesday we hung out with my boy Joe, and we went out looking for movies and comic books and doing that stuff, and then we left on Thursday, so it was really quick, but it was good. We had fun running around. Riding the trains. The kids always love doing that, and it was real quick. I wanted to see a movie either at the Film Forum or at it didn't never happen. Every time at night, my daughter wanted to go hang out with her cousin, my niece, so we ended up just spending the day at my mother's house watching like cable. But it was good. I had a good time.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, we're like I said, we're filming this on January 5th, so the holidays just happened.
Yeah.
So it was nice to get a little bit of break, and that's why the podcast is probably a week late. We try to do this every 2 weeks, but yeah, I haven't even posted the other one yet, but we'll get to that later. But by the way, I think you need to move that mic. I think just move it away from you.
Yeah,
so that it's in front of you, so you're actually talking into it.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
There we go. But keep it upward.
But keep it up, okay.
Yeah.
This podcast thing, bro.
I know, right? We're trying to deliver the best quality possible.
Yeah.
That's our goal. But anyway, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is produced by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller.
Yeah.
Their kind of stamp is all over this, which I think is the definitely one of the best things about it. Let me pull up the IMDb real quick. But it's directed by 3 different people, I believe. Bob Persichetti, Peter Ramsey, and Ridney Rodman. All people that do kind of, very heavy visual effects and type movies like The Core. I don't know if you remember that. Or Minority Report or Rise of the Guardians.
Oh, I remember.
Stuff like
that.
And just lots of like animated or very visually driven films. And this is definitely one of those. And it's essentially the story of kind of our traditional kind of Spider-Man kind of coming of age film. The difference is He gets bit by a radioactive spider, obviously. And then we discover, though, that he may not be the only Spider-Man. And that's kind of the twist to this, obviously, which is in the trailer. That's no spoiler, obviously. And you kind of that we find out that there's not just one Spider-Man, but maybe many of them.
The Spider-Verse. Yeah.
And that's where you get the Spider-Verse. And there's there's a villain, obviously, played by Liev Schreiber, who's Wilson Fisk.
It's the Kingpin.
Kingpin, yeah. So Kingpin's trying to...
The Green Goblin's in it as well.
There's several different villains in this movie, but the main one's Kingpin. And he's trying to open up this Spider-Verse. Obviously, it's called Spider-Verse. I don't know what I forgot the actual name of the multiverse is what he's trying to tap into, and I won't say why, but he is essentially he's trying to open that up, and so there's all the Spider-Mans are drawn into this main world because of that, and that's why you have 5 or 6 different Spider-Mans, and they're all trying to stop Kingpin. It's essentially the premise of the film. I think this is one of the best movies, Spider-Man movies for sure, in my opinion. Which is not like that's a
no. I mean, everyone's saying that. I mean, again, and the only thing I want to say is, again, this is different. I don't compare animated films with actual films like live films. So, I mean, I agree that I've heard everyone said that this is really good. It's spot on. It's tight. And then since in a regular live action film we can't have something like this because somebody actor or something. But yeah, I've heard that. I mean, I still wouldn't do that. But I mean, that's you. I mean, I'm a geek. I watch superhero films like day in, day out. So, but go on. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah. I mean, ultimately, so obviously it's an animated version of it, which is it's so. I think the challenge I usually have with animated films is the lack of kind of not connection to the material necessarily, but definitely. But it doesn't feel as realistic, And this movie's not supposed to be realistic. Obviously, it's a superhero movie, but I think I have a challenge connecting with animated stuff. I'm not a huge fan of animated movies in general. I mean, there are the exceptions, obviously, but they're not things that I usually go out to see at the theater.
I got
even though they're meticulously well crafted, usually, and aside from like stuff like Emoji Movie and shit like that. But, I don't traditionally go to see that stuff. But this was, I think, not only visually spectacular and worth seeing on the big screen, but also these characters are incredibly well drawn. They're relatable, they're funny, and it has all the elements of it doesn't rely on those visual effects and the this movie's absolutely stunning and beautiful, which only enhances the experience. But you actually give a shit about the characters, and I mean, I don't think I've been this connected to car alarm going off.
Disconnected to the
car alarm. Disconnected to the characters, though. I mean, like Shamik Moore, who I think voiced the video game version, I believe. I don't know, that came out earlier this year.
He's from Dope. He's also from the Get Down on Netflix. So he's up and coming indie actor. So that's good.
And he's great as
Miles Morales.
Is Miles? So I don't know, and we'll get into the kind of the lore behind this movie.
I can give you the lore. Yes,
that's Carlos's area of expertise. I didn't know Haley Steinfeld was in this. I mean, the
she's
cast is just fantastic.
Nick Cage is Spider-Noir.
And Nick Cage is amazing.
John Mulaney's great. Peter Porker, Spider-Man.
You have obviously Jake Johnson, Mahershala Ali, Brian Tyree Henry, who I got his name right this week.
Yeah, that's right.
But I butchered his name in that Widows review that we did, which isn't released, so I could delete it. It wouldn't exist. Nobody would know. This would be episode 20 if we did that.
Right?
But no, I had so much fun. This movie's obviously it's produced by Phil Lord and Chris Miller, and all their films, and obviously they didn't direct it, but they definitely had a hand in this. Yeah. They're funny, and but it doesn't rely on the jokes either. It's funny and heartwarming and visually stunning, and it's everything you could ask for in any kind of just traditional action film. But also in a Spider-Man movie, and I think I think it's the best Spider-Man movie I've seen, and I love it. I need to revisit some of the older Spider-Mans, but but I love like the villains that are in this, and I love the way that they're handled. There's some interesting twists and turns, and it's just a good time, and it's absolutely worth seeing on the big screen. But I wanted to get back to so that's kind of my review of it, but I do want to get into just kind of the lore behind this, because I don't know I knew nothing about this going in regards to what comics it was based off of or what characters it was based off of. So.
I'll try to be real quick and concise. So in the aughts, in the turn of the century, in 2000, Marvel decided to do before they started doing this as a norm, started to redo the Marvel universe and created something called the Ultimate Universe, which was more of a now look at heroes. And I've gone on about the Avengers. I think Brian Michael Bendis' Ultimate Avengers is one of the greatest written comic books ever made. But he also did Ultimate Spider-Man. And it's funny because I just was talking about my nephew. He gave me the first volume, and it was, I haven't seen the film, but it was a lot cartoony and kid-like, which I didn't like compared to his Avengers, which was dark and gritty, which is based on a lot of the Marvel Universe now. But anyway, he created this character, Miles Morales, who's a young Afro-Hispanic, teenager who is the Spider-Man in this world. And they, about maybe, I want to say a few years after that, since both characters were popular, they bled them together in some type of multiverse story. About 5 years from today, I think it was like about 2011, 12, they created the Spider-Verse, where after they became together, now they're in current continuity. We like DC, who has 52 universes or multiverses. We find out in the Secret Wars book that came out in 2015, written by Jonathan Hickman, and we got to meet all the Spider-Mans across all the multiverses. And coming out of that was Spider-Gwen, who was the first big breakout. And she was Gwen Stacy, who was, if you know our current continuity Spider-Man, was his girlfriend before Mary Jane, who Green Goblin killed. He threw her off the Brooklyn Bridge. She died. But in this universe, she got bitten by the spider in school, and she became Spider-Gwen. And then, you get to meet Spider-Ham was introduced a long time ago as a parody, but it's a little pig who's like Spider-Man. But Spider Noir came out in the video game Edge of the Universe, which was created by Peter David, and he's like the Spider-Man of the 40s. So if Spider-Man, and it's like a real detective story, and
Wait, is it Spider Noir?
Spider Noir.
Okay.
Noir, I should say. Or Noir, I could say Noir, but whatever. Yeah.
Nick Cage's character.
Nick Cage's character. So currently, if you're into it, there's a book called Spider-Geddon that just got introduced a couple of months ago. And it's all these characters come together because a bad guy is trying to destroy all the Spider universes. And so Spider-Geddon is, you get to meet all these characters you saw in Spider-Verse, and others like Spider-Punk, who's this punk rocker, who's a Spider-Man. And, I go like even Spider-May, what was her name in the movie? Is it Spider-May, or her name is May, and she's the one with the robot spider, or the little Japanese animation girl.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know.
Yeah, so you get to meet all these other Spider people, and it's like a really good, if you guys are gamers, PS4 just introduced Marvel's Spider-Man. He's now in the universe, and he has his own comic book, so these are just, but that's the lore. It's this multiverse that was opened to introduce this like new hip Spider-Man for the now, and now there's this giant Spider-Verse where you can go to every different world and meet a different Spider-Man, and some are female, some are male, some are animals, some are robots, so it's really good. But yeah, that's the lore of the Spider-Verse.
This movie's also really good. You should go see it.
Yeah.
We'll get to this. This is on my top 10 list of the year. I think it's great. And I can't wait to see it again. Unlike the next movie we're going to talk about, which might be one of my most hated movies of the year. It's definitely on my worst of list. I don't think it's necessarily one of the worst films of the year, but it stinks, and that's Bird Box.
Oh my God, now we're in problem. Yeah, go on.
Well, so and part of it, I have to be, just to be totally honest, part of it is that people won't shut up about this movie. So the only reason I was kind of pulled into watching this is because at some point my mom was like, we need to do a movie night and we need to watch Bird Box because everybody was talking about it. And about 20 minutes in, I think I said something along the lines of like, I think I hate this movie, and the reason, there's so many reasons, but there's a movie called Quiet Place that came out earlier this year, which obviously it draws comparison to, but when you watch Bird Box, it feels like they saw A Quiet Place and were like, and I know it's based on a novel, I believe,
Which came out before.
which I'm sure is probably more interesting than this movie, because I think you could do this premise properly. I don't think the problem lies in the premise and so much as, which is where the obvious comparison to A Quiet Place is problematic. You look at a movie like that, which I think is really good. It's on my honorable mentions, I believe.
I haven't seen it, but I want
It's very good,
Yeah.
and we actually did a double feature with Bird Box and Quiet Place. Because
to convince everybody that
Yeah.
Bird Box was bad and Quiet Place was good.
That was kind of my goal. I was just like, because, and it's the little things, like even with the way the movie handles, like the pregnancy. I know you haven't seen A Quiet Place, but
Yeah.
Sandra Bullock's character is pregnant in Bird Box, and
Yes.
so is one other character, and in A Quiet Place. Have you seen Bird Box?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
It's on my top 10 list, bro. We're going to get into it. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yes, it is.
Oh no.
I'm sorry, Michael Nichols.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I said that.
I thought this was a safe space.
No, brother, it's not.
So I think the premise is fine. That's not my problem with it. My problem is the dialogue, the characters, and the directing, and the structure of it. So I think I was thinking about this last night. I couldn't get to sleep, and I was thinking about like what I wanted to say about this film, and I think I summed it up into, I was like, okay, so it's structure, it's dialogue, and it's John Malkovich. And John Malkovich is the key problem I have with this movie.
Oh my God, I love
He is hamming it up. in this
Yes,
film.
yes, he is. He's a genius.
No, he's not. He is like a bad character from The Walking Dead, like or Lost or any survival film or book or anything from now to the beginning of time. He's that character that is just a contrarian for no reason necessarily. I mean, he has no motivation in this movie other than his wife was murdered in the first 10 minutes, and we don't give a shit about her or anything that or him ever.
When you don't like a movie, you don't say spoiler alert.
Well, that's in the first 5 minutes, and it is one of the setups in the film. A lot of people die in the first 5 minutes, and there's explosions, but it reminds me a lot of The Happening in all the worst ways.
Someone did compare it to that.
But I think The Happening's a better movie.
What? Oh my God.
Well, okay, so they're both bad. I don't. Bird Box is
Happening's worse.
probably made better. Like it's shot well. If I had to compliment the film at all,
Don't compliment the film. It's one of the worst films I've ever seen.
No, I'm talking about Bird Box now.
Oh, I thought. Okay, compliment that.
The Happening is like not.
The Happening is horrible.
It's a Hollywood movie. It's Shyamalan, obviously. They had a budget, but I mean, I think like Bird Box it's a more modern film, but it's. I don't know. It's shot well. It's produced better. It seems like they cared, but I just think there's something wrong with the script and the directing, and it prevents me from caring about it at all. And there's a couple reasons. So I listed off one of my main 3 complaints, other than John Malkovich, is the structure of it. So, and I think you can do a film where you show the ending and the beginning concurrent, in concurrent timelines, or not timelines, but you jump back and forth between time. You can do that. The problem is you have about 9 characters in this home in the movie, and then you cut to just Sandra Bullock and her kid and these 2 children in a boat, right? And it's and that's not a spoiler. That's in the first 10 minutes as well.
Understood. And I think I know where you're going with that. Yeah, go on.
Which isn't. I don't even know that this complaint's necessarily originally. A lot of people don't like this movie, so I'm not alone here. But I think it's challenging to care about any of these expendable characters, and I think that's the way the movie treats these characters that are locked in this house. Aside from the guy from Moonlight, he's fine in it. But you have all these. You essentially have an expendable cast of 9 people, and we know they're going to die because we've already shown you that they all die in the. I mean, I guess you could say
not necessarily. You don't. I mean, granted. I mean, here it is. I mean, it's a spoiler. But and he says just because you show that, you don't know that in the beginning. You don't know what happened, and that gets you the journey. Like, hey, so all these people, what happened to them? And that's part of it. Now, granted, he just summed it up that everybody dies. But yeah, I mean, obviously. But once you see the film, you understand why. And it's funny because you bring that up, and I hate jumping in tangents, But that's one of the reasons why I hate Carlito's Way. And even though I've been starting to try to enjoy Carlito's Way more and more, I bring it up because Carlito's Way opens up showing you that Al Pacino gets, and this is in the beginning of the film, so there's no spoilers, he gets shot and he's dying, and then you see what happened. So it's like, I guess you could say, because that's the first thing I said to Rhonda, I was like, ugh, they already show the ending, so I already know that whoever's in this movie is going to be dead. But it's the journey. But anyway, go on.
So the journey includes them getting into a car and driving to a mall with using the sensors on the vehicle. And
it's a supermarket, but okay.
I think I haven't done this movie a service by explaining the plot, so let me do that first. The movie is about it's an apocalyptic film about I don't think anybody cares about this, but whatever.
And I think this is why you don't like the movie.
It's an apocalyptic film about what if I say it in like a deep it's an apocalyptic movie about a bunch of characters, a bunch of people that all of a sudden start committing suicide for some unknown reason. I think does the trailer give you kind of the premise of the film? I think it does. Like the premise is that they're seeing their worst fears or whatever, right?
No.
Where did I get that from?
From the film, from the spoilers you're giving.
Nowhere
in the movie does it give you any reason why this is happening. In any of the trailers, we watched all 3 trailers before we watched the film, and they don't tell you that.
I wonder if I just read a synopsis or something. I don't know. Where did I?
I thought you knew how to review a film.
I knew that going in, though. That's my question.
I mean, because maybe everybody talked. Listen, this is again. Here's another tangent. Why I hate Lord of the Rings, Part 1. Because David Charles Wilson talked about the movie like it was the second coming of Jesus. And when I finally saw the movie, I said, this is the second coming of Jesus. So maybe that's why everyone's talking, you got to see the movie, And
do you like Bird Box more than The Fellowship of the Ring?
I've never even got past Lord of the Rings. That's how much I hated the movie. I'm sorry, people. I'm not alone.
We should just end the show right now.
Yeah, and that's fine. Because like I said, my top 10 list, Bird Box is on it. But anyway, go on.
So
someone hyped up a movie to Jeremy. Jeremy didn't say the movie lived up to hype, and now he's bashing the film. I understand because I do the same thing to Lord of the Rings every single time someone brings up Lord of the Rings. Go on.
Well, so it's not even that anybody's hyping it because I don't know that anybody that watches films other than you actually likes this movie. Well, nobody will shut up about it. That doesn't mean that they're hyping it. Some of it's just the memes.
It's the same thing, and I think that's what the memes are amazing.
The memes are horrible. I think they're terrible. I just think the memes are so bad.
I think this top 10 should be for next time. And let's just argue the point of Bird Box because it's ridiculous. The memes are funny, and I laugh at every single one I see.
Okay.
I just think that you're not into that. He doesn't dig on memes. So again, the movie's bad because he doesn't dig on the memes that they keep shooting at him on Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat.
Well,
I understand, but
memes. I just think if they were about a movie that had any substance or any kind of... I don't even think Sandra Bullock's good in this. And I think she's great in everything.
I mean, she is good at it. I'm not saying she's great. She's not... This is not Oscar caliber, but I mean, yeah.
Well, and then you watch A Quiet Place, and Emily Blunt's character is so well drawn and interesting, and I don't know. So you haven't seen A Quiet Place yet, which may impact your
all right, let me just say, let me go, and then you can go on because I knew this was going to go on forever. So here, before I was going to say the speech before I did my top 10 list. I have children. I can only go to the movies when I have all my kids because then the kids get mad if I see a movie without them. I only saw 25 films in 2018 compared to Jeremy's 500,000. So I'm saying that, yes, I did not see A Quiet Place. No, it was on our list, but my youngest kid is scared of things, so she would have never seen A Quiet Place in theaters. So I never got to see it in theaters. I haven't rented it. I don't have Amazon Prime or anything. It's not on Netflix and Hulu. So I haven't seen it. I'm starting to see that, and I said it. I always say, Bird Box is the other Quiet Place, the opposite of Quiet Place, where instead of talking, you can't see. And I understand that Jeremy's seen it. I know Quiet Place is on everyone's top 10 list, or at least in regular critics. So I think that that's what jaded you in Bird Box because you saw the movie that I haven't seen Quiet, but I'm sure is better than Bird Box.
They're different movies. But they're both survival
movies where one you can't talk and the other one you can't see. So it's basically the same thing. But I think that's what happened. You've been jaded by Quiet Place. I mean, you don't like Bird Box because you were jaded by A Quiet Place because I'm pretty sure it's the better film. I mean, I've heard it's better than anything in the world. So
I mean, it definitely is.
And then I know
no argument there.
And I'm going to go into what he's not talking about because he's saying ridiculous stuff like that. But being that I'm a very spiritual being, I understand the reasoning behind these things. I'll even get into. I'll get into other things when I review the film. But here, keep going.
Well, okay. Well, I also I hate the way this movie handles conflict as well. It feels like and I mean it from a standpoint of like these characters are their own problem. Like they argue and which
that's the premise. I mean, like Walking Dead. That's why Walking Dead is. But
we've seen this so many. Like these characters are all tropes. Okay. Like, and I mean every single one. Like literally. So
it's not original. I mean, no one said it was.
Well, but that's film. But okay. So you have, but that's. I need movies need to exceed like everything we've already seen. You know what I mean?
So you're gonna come on Bird Box because it's the film that didn't do that yet. No one's done it. I mean, it started with Dawn of the Dead.
I'm not talking about the. I'm not talking. Yeah, well, yeah.
Because you have this.
But like Lord of the Flies, Lost, like Walking Dead.
Yeah, okay, you could be right.
My main complaint about Walking Dead is the same problem though, where it's like, and I think that's a better show. Or,
no. I'm saying Robert Kirkman has mastered the conflict within man outside of this, this malevolent force that we should be focusing on, but instead we focus on each other. The living beings are fighting against each other, and I understand that because it's funny that you brought that up because, like I said, Lord of the Flies would be the first one that would start.
Probably,
really, 1960. But I think Walking Dead, he's mastered it. But even now, I'm like, all right. The comic book is better than the show, and the show, like, where else are you going? I mean, how much more conflict can you have against you? And the point is drawn. But I understand that you say 9, was there 9 or 7? Anyway, so you have all these characters.
There's too many, because that's a problem.
And you could be right about that. You could be right about that. There's too many characters. But like you said, where else to go? I mean, maybe me should be the one who creates. How do we deal with conflict amongst a small group of people in an apocalyptic setting? I mean, there's not. Where can you go?
So. I think eliminating characters is the first problem, right? Because the first solution to what you just said, in my opinion. Because I think if you cut about 4 characters from that group, you at least have time to give a shit about any of them. When there's 9, there's probably 9 to 12 people in that. I mean, maybe 9's a good number. Let's just stick with 9.
Yeah, from the beginning when they get into the house, there's 9.
If you had 4 or 5 and the another survival movie you could compare it to is It Comes at Night, which is fantastic. And I think we did that on the show. I don't remember if we did or not.
We never did, no.
But that was one of my favorite films. I wrote about that. That was last year.
Yeah.
But so that's another movie which has about 5 characters, right? Same thing with A Quiet Place. There's 4 or 5 characters in that whole movie, and it gives you time with each of them. It gives you the movie's forced to like characterize these people. Like there's a scene in A Quiet Place which is in the middle of the movie which is completely irrelevant. I mean, it's not a spoiler because it's just something that happens. John Krasinski and his son go to a waterfall and he shows him the concept of like, they can't hear you if there's something louder than you near you. Mm-hmm. So he uses like a waterfall as a perfect example, and it's this great father-son moment that and it creates kind of a dynamic between the daughter as well. I don't want to get too much into that movie, but I just watched that. But it's all it is a scene where they're explaining the groundwork for the world that they live in, but also, they're just spending some time with these characters and showing the way that he interacts with his daughter and his son. And it's a great scene. Not so much so, and even like Leave No Trace, another movie where it's not as reliant on plot. Because Bird Box isn't really a plot-driven movie. I mean, stuff happens, but it's not. There's no real story to it until like they get on the. I mean, overall, there's a story to it, but it's really just a survival movie, essentially. In terms of,
I'm not a disagreeing.
Which isn't a problem necessarily. Like Leave No Trace isn't. It's not a plot-heavy movie, but it spends time with its characters and you care about them.
Look at John too.
I mean, I think you could say that like Sandra Bullock has enough. You spend enough time with her, I think, to give a shit. But I think everyone could be written more effectively. Even like
the old lady that you like from Animal Kingdom,
Jackie Weaver.
Yeah, like I liked her because I was going to say they didn't give her enough.
Yeah, she's criminally underused.
But I mean, like Livia, the chunky other pregnant woman. I mean, I think they did well with just the little plot points that they threw in here and there. I think that was fine. Even what's his name? What's his name? Gary? Tom's character
Doesn't even know the names. I don't know the
No,
names.
I do remember Tom, but I mean, who was the guy from Moonlight.
He's good.
You really don't know. I mean, he's good because you dig him, but I mean,
Well, he's good because his performance is very
yes,
good.
he's very good performer. But I mean, you don't know anything
do.
about him, but the fact that he was working on some type of construction site.
And then from scene one, I mean, this is a spoiler. I don't give a shit at this point. From scene one, you know that they're going to try and have them be a romance, and it's like the whole movie is so, because they're all so poorly written. Each character is predictable. Aside from maybe the guy from Get Out, he's great in Get Out. I forgot his name in Bird Box.
His name is Charlie in the film, but Little Rel Howard.
He's amazing in Get Out,
Yeah.
and he's fine here. But the scene where he has to make the decision to help save the group is so poorly written because we don't give a shit about anybody, and he is a character. Even I don't know. Why is he in Bird Box? You know what I mean? Why?
I will get to the reason why, because I'm trying to get to this top 10 list, but he won't go there.
Problems with this.
He is the crux of the film. He explains the point of the film. You don't have to see monsters because he tells you everything. And what's his name? Gary, who comes in. I'm trying not to spoil the film like he's doing. They show you the entity, and I don't want to get into anything else without spoiling. They are main points of the film. Charlie's character,
We're in spoiler
Howard,
territory at this point, so just have at it.
It's on fucking Netflix. So, like I said, Charlie's explanation of the creatures are what is the point of the film. I keep fighting people online. I keep saying,
you can't hit the table like that.
I'm sorry. I want this and I want that. I'm like, first off, Jaws created. You don't need to see things. You could just be the tension of it.
That's not my problem. I agree with that.
And again, but he does explain what the creatures are. And later on, when Gary comes in and puts the drawings out on the table, he shows you what they look like. And that's all you need. Even everyone on YouTube, Ron is sitting there watching all these YouTube things just to get a little bit more insight. And they're all saying the same thing. They show better depictions of the characters that Gary drew, which I think are... I'm like, today, right before you came, I watched one. I was like, shit, now I want to look at this demon that they were talking about. But it's really, really creepy. But other than that, you don't need to... I'm fighting with people on Facebook and whoever said, I saw this movie and I liked it, but I don't like the ending. And I was like, but why? It's for what the film was. It's a nice ending. Oh, but I don't get to see the creature. They show you the friggin' creature. Charlie describes each creature.
You're defending the movie to me when I don't have a problem with that.
Wait till I tell you what number it's on my list.
Oh no, is it going to be number 1?
No.
Okay, thank God. No, I agree with that. I don't care. I don't need to see the monster. Agree with that. Fully agree. In fact, one of my complaints about A Quiet Place, I think you see them too much. But that movie is still a better movie in every other way.
Yeah, and I'll bet.
And the comparisons that I have are let's go back to the way that the movie handles pregnancy. And I don't want to spoil A Quiet Place, but so Emily Blunt's character is.
No, I haven't seen it. I don't want you to spoil it.
I'm not going to.
Okay,
I just said I'm not going to.
No.
So Emily Blunt's character is she's pregnant in the film.
Yeah, I got it.
And the concept of being quiet is by nature challenging to somebody who's pregnant, right? So that in itself is creates attention, right? Is what we'll call it from a screenwriting perspective.
Yeah.
But then, and I'm not going to get into spoilers, obviously, but the way that the film sets up the pregnancy and the way that it handles it is so much more effective. And it's one of the best. I mean, I watched it again with the family, and I thought, that scene is amazing. It's just fantastic. And it's kind of the turning point of the film in A Quiet Place. And Bird Box, just the pregnancy is I don't know. It just... I don't care. I don't care about anyone. I don't care about anything that's happening.
That's fine. I'll accept that from you.
But and I think more of it comes down to script and directing than anything else.
I also think that you're talking about an amazing...
I'm not talking about the story. I'm
just saying that you're bringing up something amazing about Quiet Place. I gathered she was pregnant from one of the trailers when she was in the tub. But I'm saying this. In a film where you cannot speak or utter words, being pregnant is a challenge, and of course that's probably. I can't wait
in
to see
any apocalyptic world.
But in Bird Box, no one you can scream. So you're saying the pregnancy wasn't handled well because it just happened over a course of time, then they had kids. And that was it?
I'm just talking about like it feels like a plot device, right? And you could call it, and it's used as a plot device in A Quiet Place as well.
Okay,
but it just feels like. It's like, and I'm sure there's more to this movie from a conceptual standpoint, but my problem is I don't care, and the reason I don't care is there's too many characters. They're not written well. John Malkovich is a cartoon in this movie, right?
I agree with you. I love it.
And so are a lot of these 9 people, right? A lot of these 9 people fit into like the one trope that they are, right? Okay. And it's like, we don't need that. Like, I don't need a drug addict character and a hot character that works out all the time and the funny black guy and, you know, and the romance. And I don't like, that's what these characters feel like. And the reason, you know, like, you don't know the name of the drug addict. I'm sure we could look it up, right?
I don't remember the
I don't care about the drug addict. I don't care about so why are they there, right? So that's my first problem, is too many characters. My second problem is...
they get rid of them quick, so it's okay.
Yeah, but I don't need characters to die for it to be effective. Like, you know, and you could...
We don't know if they die, but they take the car. It was for them to get rid of the car so they can't rely on the car sensor thing,
But yeah, and so anyway, so from the example that I've been kind of trying to get to, but we've been circling around, like when John Malkovich and Sandra Bullock argue, they'll say things like, well, fuck you then. And you're like, who wrote that, right? But it happens all the time. Where it's like, you're just a fucking asshole. It's like,
and then it goes into her dad.
Well, it's like, you're just a fucking asshole is, and that's not the exact paraphrasing.
No, it's not.
But I don't know that I'm paraphrasing that much though. It's when they get back from the grocery store, there's a conflict, and he's just being a contrarian, annoying, like, and it's fine to like dislike a character. I have no problem with that. The problem is he's a cartoon. And he does his thing, and then Sandra Bullock's, well, we're just not fucking assholes, is I think the line, something like that. And it's like, that is like something written by somebody who doesn't know, like, you don't need character. It just feels all spelled out, right? Like, this is how I'm feeling. I'm gonna say it to you on screen. I don't know.
Funny.
I just can't, like, whereas in A Quiet Place, that's a movie that's completely reliant on a lack of dialogue, right? And it's not fair to necessarily to compare the two.
It's not.
But I'm using it as an example of all the problems I have with it.
And that's my problem. I think the best thing is that I'm glad I didn't see Quiet Place first, because I'm pretty sure I probably would have hated Bird Box. But then now when I do see Quiet Place, I'm like, oh, well, this is the better Bird Box film. So, but anyways, that was your 4th film, right?
Yes, that was the last.
We should move on to our list at 11:15 or 11:20 time. It's 11:15.
Yeah, because I got to get back for the Bears. Well, the Bears get not till 3.
The Bears. But yeah, my wife's coming back in about an hour. So.
Normally football starts at noon, but it's over. It's only playoffs right now.
Yeah. So how do you want to? Because I already did my speech about I only saw 25 films. Okay.
So you did
I did 10 plus an honorable mention.
Okay, so I did 15 plus a lot of honorable mentions. So there's a lot of movies this year, man, and I like a lot.
I'm used to thousands of films. I could understand.
And there's a ton of good
15,
ones.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's stuff that I can't wait to see that I haven't seen yet. There's a lot of stuff that I'm sure would probably make the list, if not like a movie like Leave No Trace. That's not on here, but it's very good. And there's a lot of movies like Overlord. Like there's a lot of stuff that's not on this list, but are really solid. And but anyway, I had to narrow it down to as few as possible. So I guess we'll do honorable mentions first.
Yeah, you can do yours.
I'll get to 10, and then we'll go back and forth.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So that's how we're gonna play this. But so for honorable mentions, and I'm just gonna kind of roll through these because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 of them almost.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's these movies. Like I was thinking about this yesterday. I was shooting a wedding, and Crazy Rich Asians is my first one.
Crazy Rich, that was on my list.
Oh, good. Yeah, I really like it. I've seen it twice, and it has kind of the trappings of a traditional romantic comedy, but the characters are just really damn likable, and the spectacle of it is really entertaining and wonderful. I love it. Yeah. And I don't know. The wedding sequences in that is spectacular, which
Yeah,
is
it was.
what it reminded me of when I was shooting a wedding yesterday. But anyway, it's really good, and it holds up a second time through. As just kind of a romantic comedy, it works really well. And the lead guy is going to be a star. He's amazing. He's in another movie that's on this list as well, which is a spoiler for my list, but whatever. Anyway, and then Apostle, which is on Netflix, which I like. It's just an honorable mention.
That made my list too. Yeah.
Three Identical Strangers, which is a documentary which is really solid, absolutely worth seeing. Documentary about three guys that find out that they're twins, or not twins, but triplets, that have lived separately for all their lives. Mm-hmm. Really interesting. Hold the Dark, which is Jeremy Saulnier's film on Netflix. Really dark. There's an amazing shootout sequence in that movie that is absolutely worth watching the whole thing for. Black Klansman, which I actually had a hard time not putting on my top list.
I thought it would be on your list. Yeah,
very good. I really like that. Spike Lee. He's back. It's great.
Return to form. Yeah.
And then the Guilty, which is I forgot what country. Did we do that on the show?
Yeah, you talked about The Guilty. Yeah.
We did. Okay, cool. So there's a full review of that, but it's a movie. The thriller, crime thriller, all told from the perspective of somebody working in law enforcement on the kind of the hotline. I don't know what it's called. When you have an emergency dispatch, you call in and it's like their 911.
Yeah, 911.
Check. I don't know which level's mine. There we go. Okay. Just making sure you guys could hear me. Everybody's like, oh my God, my ears, this sounds terrible. Whatever. And then Game Night, which is really good.
It's on my list. Yeah.
Unsane, which is Steven Soderbergh.
With the Chloe Foy.
Yeah, she's great. It's really weird, it's shot on iPhone. Yeah, it's that movie came out early this year, but it was on my top 10 until a ton of other great movies came out. Very good though. And then A Quiet Place and Isle of Dogs, which is Wes Anderson's. So that's my honorable mentions list.
I was like, I love dogs. Isle of Dogs. Yeah,
Isle of Dogs, which is that's the joke in Isle of Dogs. You just figured it out there. You cracked it.
Shit, I just cracked it.
But yeah.
Well, let me do my last. My honorable mention.
Bird Box, I hope.
No, is Ready Player One.
Okay. Steven
Spielberg's return to form for me. It brought back that magical summer stuff of E.T., The Goonies, and it was. Well, it was the second Steven Spielberg, right? It was the second Spielberg film. It actually was, but me and Rhonda were talking about my list because she fought this list, and it actually made me take Ready Player One from the number 10 spot to my honorable mention and move my honorable mention to number 10.
Interesting.
But yeah, I did dig it. For what it was, summer action film, all the nostalgia with all the Back to the Future, Iron Giant, all that. I really dug it, and that made my honorable mention.
Yeah, it's fun. I enjoyed that. It's not on my list, but it is good and worth seeing for sure. That's one that I think I'd recommend on the big screen, but it's too late now. But because it's visually stunning. So I guess I'll do 15 through 10. So my 15th spot, which I just could not put on my list this year, is You Were Never Really Here, which is Joaquin Phoenix, directed by I need to know this name. She directed We Need to Talk About Kevin.
Yeah, that's right. I know you like that. I like that film too.
I like that movie. Lynn Ramsey. But this is just a knockout movie. Yeah, it's and a lot of people compare it like Taxi Driver meets Drive, which is a good comparison. And if you like those movies, obviously, which I do. But it's a movie that kind of shows all of its violence off screen in a way that's really effective and really haunting.
What's the reason why he got the Joker?
Oh, it's because of it? Oh, I didn't know that.
My brothers said they liked that movie so much they thought he could play the Joker.
I mean, he just has a visceral, brutal performance, and I mean, he's absolutely fantastic in it. He's great in everything.
Yeah, no, I love Joaquin.
I still think he should have won for The Master. I think Joaquin Phoenix is amazing. But anyway, have you even seen that yet?
Yes, I did remember.
Did we argue about it on the podcast?
I think we did. Well, I think it was one of the last ones we did. Yeah, and we fought a lot because I hated that movie. But go on.
Oh, interesting. That's a shame.
Yeah, it's a shame.
You're just wrong, but okay.
No, I'm not.
Number 14 is Upgrade, which made a lot of people's way higher up a lot of people's lists. But
it was in top 10.
I didn't enjoy it as much the second time through, but I had such a good time in the theater. This was actually like fourth on my list for a long time.
Interesting.
And it got knocked down the second time I watched it just because I didn't have as much fun. But it's still really fantastic. It's really stylish. Lee Winnell. Yeah, that's who. I got Lynn Ramsey's name. I was like, Lee came up. And I was like, no, that's the Upgrade guy. And the Saw guy.
James Wan and Lee Winnell. Yeah, so go on.
Did he direct Saw or write Saw?
He wrote Saw, and then I think he did
He did a couple. He directed.
Darren Bousman did 3 through 4. So but Lee Winnell wrote almost all the Saws.
Okay, gotcha. But yeah, Upgrade. It's directed by Lee Winnell, and it's really stylish, and it's got the knockoff Tom Hardy in it. But he's good. He was an Invitation. He's been in a couple other movies. He's great in this. It's about a guy who becomes crippled after kind of an accident, is what I'll call it, and which leaves his girlfriend. She gets killed, and he's crippled in the process, and so it's about kind of him recovering, and this scientist who is one of his clients that he like makes old custom cars for. This is set in kind of a futuristic, but not like so far in the future, like 20 years in the future.
From today,
where we have like automated cars and stuff like that, which we already have now.
We are in 2019, the Blade Runner year.
Yeah. And so anyway, one of his clients is this scientist that is really renowned, and he basically comes to him and offers him the ability to insert this chip into I forgot the name of it. I should know the stem. I think is what it's called, into his spine, which will heal him so that he's no longer crippled. It comes with a few side effects, and all of a sudden there's this thing starts talking to him, and so he starts hearing this voice in his head. It's a lot like Venom, and it gets that comparison a lot. I haven't seen Venom yet, haven't heard good things, but what I've heard is people say go watch Upgrade instead, which very similar premise though, where it's like you're not in control of your own body, that kind of thing, or at least something is controlling your body. It's really good though. It's funny and it's exciting. It's really well shot. They use all the camera will like lock onto its subject, and when somebody moves, it'll pivot on like the horizontal axis, and it's just really stylish and exciting, and I really like it. But there's some of the tension felt lost when I watched it a second time, so that's where it's down lower. But I did really enjoy it. Sorry, gotta take a breath and cough. The number 13 is American Animals, which is a documentary narrative blend about it's a true story about some kids that some college students that try and steal a really expensive piece of like art book. I forgot the name of the artist that they try and steal, but it's a book of bird art. I think it's paintings. I haven't seen this movie in almost 6 months, but and it's worth like $10 million or something, and it goes horribly wrong, and it's fascinating. So the reason I think this documentary is so, it's by the guy who did The Imposter, which is another fantastic documentary narrative blend. He essentially, the film is, which you don't find out about until about 20 minutes in, is narrated by the people who did the heist. And so they're discussing kind of what they did, but their characters in this movie, this narrative movie, are played by actors. Yeah. And there's some kind of tongue-in-cheek winks to like there's a scene where the Evan Peters from American Horror Story is speaking to the real guy in a car, and he's like, "Is this how you remember?" He's like, "I don't know. If he says that's what happened, that's what happened." But it's really well shot. It has just an interesting perspective on kind of why somebody would do this, right? Yeah. And I really like it. In fact, it's hard to put it at 13 because I really like this movie a lot. But there were so many good movies this year. I'll move on. Avengers.
12?
Infinity War is 12. Yep, it's great. I saw that like 6 times in the theaters. I love that movie. Don't need to really say that much more about it, though. I mean, it's good. Go see it.
I'll take care of it. Go on.
Have you seen it?
You're asking me if I've seen Avengers Infinity War. You saw it 6 times?
But you said I'll take your take on it.
No, I said I'll take care of that when I go on my list. Yeah.
fair enough. And then Eighth Grade, which is Bo Burnham's directorial debut.
Really? Number 11.
He's directed other things,
obviously,
but this is his first kind of feature film, and it's about an eighth grade girl it's a coming of age film, but it's also just about kind of the struggle of eighth grade life.
Yeah.
And he treats it with such care, and it's very funny and very heartwarming, and kind of it's that kind of gooey, fun, kind of delightful, adorable little film. But it has kind of that Bo Burnham wit and charm. Has a really unique score, and it's a really great performance by. I'm gonna pull up her name because
give you guys my girl's name.
She's great in it. Yeah. If I can spell eighth correctly, Elsie Fisher.
Elsie Fisher.
She's great, and I think it's her first film as well. And it says she did some voice acting for Despicable Me, but she played Agnes. I haven't seen either of those films, but.
Everything despicable. Oh, well, I think that's the difference. But anyway, go on, yeah.
But anyway, she's great in it. She's kind of the lead, and she is the lead. And I love her dad in it, played by Josh Hamilton, he's been really bad in some things, but I like him a lot in this. He plays kind of the dorky dad that's just struggling to connect with his daughter, and it's just a really delightful movie, and I like it a lot. And that one I've seen 2 or 3 times now. And then we get into top 10. So now I'll move to you. You'll do your 10th pick.
So as I mentioned, this movie was my original honorable mention. And then as we were discussing the movie, I ended up saying, well, I want my list to be like Spinwell and the other guys who do the TV movies. I want them to fight each other out. Ready Player One, not that it's not original. I mean, I think it's basically a video game type story, but this movie was more original, surprising, and I like that it took twists and turns. And the ending may have been not that great, but the ending credit scenes was really amazing, which I don't know if you ever sat through the whole film to the end. But Game Night was my number 10. And I love Game Night. And then it's funny because I was looking up to see who directed it. I keep forgetting that it's John Patrick Daly from Freaks and Geeks who
directed it?
He directed it, and co-wrote it. And, the kid went from one of my favorite shows in my top 5 list of all time to now directing these big films. So I really did like Game Night, and that became my number 10 on the list.
Everybody's really good in that movie, too.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's just for kind of a broad Hollywood comedy.
Jason Bateman can never go wrong. I mean, and what's her name? Rachel McAdams is really cute, and she's really good. And it's like, she does these big films, and this is just her little all right, I can do small films too, and she's just really good in it. I enjoy her.
They have great interaction. Yeah, it's the cast is great.
Yeah, the cast is amazing.
It's funny, and it has kind of a style to
it. Yeah, definitely.
I actually recently watched The Game by David Fincher, which Game Night is very heavily influenced by.
Yes.
It's kind of the comedy.
Yeah, because they don't know. Yeah, because they don't know if it's real or not, and so it's like really, really cool.
I don't know that it's as good as The Game. That
of course really good. The Game is one of the greatest films. Yeah.
I forgot how good that was, but Game Night it's very good. I don't know. I have a hard time putting it in a. It wasn't my honorable mentions, but I had a good time. I've seen it 2 or 3 times.
And that's another thing. A movie that we can watch more than once is up on my list, but
and I think it warrants a second viewing after just the way that it.
Exactly. After all the twists and turns, you got to see it again to catch all that. Yeah.
So my 10th pick, which could fall anywhere on this list. I really like this movie. Shock. I mean, this might be surprising to people, but A Simple Favor is my 10th pick.
Okay.
Which is the. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, didn't you talked about it in the summer, I think. But go on, yeah.
Oh yeah, well, so it's a kind of a weird. I don't know. It's Anna Kendrick plays kind of a kindergarten mom. I don't know if they're kindergarten, but they're school age mom that is kind of single and definitely is. She's kind of one of those annoying moms that would like run the PTA and do all this. She's just very involved in her kids' lives because it's all she has.
Blake
And then Blake Lively plays kind of the alcoholic mother of one of the kids that's also in the same grade as Anna Kendrick's kid. And they kind of set up a play date and start talking. And Blake Lively asks Anna Kendrick if she calls Anna Kendrick and asks if Anna Kendrick can watch her kid. And then she disappears. And then it becomes a really weird kind of sensual murder mystery / comedy / it even like dips into weird kind of like almost spiritual areas. This movie's all over the place, but I think it knows it, and that's what the reason I enjoy it so much. It's both wacky and sexy and stylish, and it's paying a lot of tribute to kind of French cinema, and it has like this weird, it's just a very bizarre film, but it's really darkly funny. It's directed by the guy who did Bridesmaids. Going blank on his name. We have too many names to talk about this podcast. Who? Paul Feig. Yeah,
from Freaks and Geeks as well.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Anyway, yeah, it's really well directed, and everybody's just looks like they're having a really great time, and it's, I don't know, it's got really interesting twists and turns, and I just have such a good time watching this. I've seen this like 4 or 5 times, and I can't get enough of it, and I've shown it to like everyone I can. It's not like, it's kind of a trashy version of Gone Girl. Like it's,
Spoiler
it's like,
in that, but yeah.
well, but not what I mean is like it's if Gone Girl is also a dark comedy.
Yeah.
And I love that movie. I don't think this is as good as Gone Girl, but it's but it has the same, it has the same kind of dark edge to it. But it's about a bunch of characters that would say things like, "Oh, you just look so chic,"
Well, it's funny because the trailer sold this as like a thriller horror type movie, and then when I read about it, you were talking about it, I was like, "This is more Paul Feig." I was like, "What?" So Paul Feig's trying to go all highbrow, and then I was like, "No, it's just another dark comedy." So
there's a line in it that made me laugh out loud in the theater, like unexpectedly. Like there was a line that just made me go, oh, like it's just a deadpan dark line that I can't, because it's very spoiler heavy. I can't say the line, but it's delivered by Blake Lively, who's just having so much fun in this movie. Anyway, you could see Carlos can see the smile on my face. I love A Simple Favor, and I'm questioning whether or not it should be higher up my list, but.
I mean, the way you're talking about it, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Anyway.
So, yeah.
Number 9.
So, again, you guys got to remember, I only saw 25 films this year, and I see mostly family. This could be like the top family films of all time.
Okay.
And again, I'll be honest, like when I was telling Ron, I was like, well, game night can be for all these movies I on this list. But she was like fighting me. So, definitely when I think about it, like the next film, number 9, and when you see my list, you'll understand why. I put Ralph Breaks the Internet. And again, nothing new there. It was very cute and it was very wholesome. I'd still, believe it or not, put Game Night in front of that. But again, when I was putting in the top 10 list, Game Night was an honorable mention, and Ready Player One was number 10. And I still think Ralph Breaks the Internet was a little better than Ready Player One. So we already talked about this last week, so I'm not going to go into it. But that's my number 9, which now that Game Night's number 10, that should be actually number 10 and Game Night number 9. Go ahead.
Fair enough. Can't argue with that. We did that on a show that has not been posted
yet.
Yeah, Carlos goes into more detail about his thoughts on that. Number 9 for me is Mandy, which is
Nicolas Cage.
Which is definitely I'm known for having kind of genre films on my top 10 list a lot. I'm a big fan.
That's not a problem.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it's definitely like one of those films that somebody would look at and go, "Oh yeah, of course you like Mandy." Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Why not?
Because I think one of the years I put like the guest on there.
Yeah, you love the guest.
I love these like weird genre blends, and they're just fun to me. And there's an argument to be made that Mandy's not some spectacular film. That's all I'm saying. But and this is a movie that I think we talk about this on the show?
We did the first show I think was you went on and on about Nick Cage's performance and the surrealism of the film.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we've tackled my thoughts on it. But it's weird and I think in that I'm sure I described the fact that it's one of the few films this year that I almost strongly disliked for the first half and then completely flipped around and had just a completely great time. Yeah. And it's really bizarre and it's violent and in kind of all the genre ways. There's a chainsaw fight at the end of the film. It's spectacular and Nick Cage is perfectly weird in it. And it's my number 9.
Yeah. So. All right. So my number 8, which again I guess is right. So I put number 8, and I don't know, like I said, I put James Wan's Aquaman as number 8. We didn't talk about Aquaman last week, so it came out on Christmas, and we haven't seen each other since the week before. But James Wan's come a long way, and they finally gave him a big studio superhero film. And I'll go quick because we didn't review it. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't yet.
No,
I was going to
okay.
go see it on Friday, but I had stuff come up.
So it's got a lot of good James Wan stuff. I mean, definitely it's got the funny, and we could break it down because, like I said, I put this as my number 2 DC film, and then me and my nephew were talking about it, and then it slipped back down. But beautiful colors, the action sequences. He does grand scale. I mean, what I love about comic books is the splash page, and I think everyone's done it. Joss Whedon, Zack Snyder, and I think James Wan did a great splash page type sequence and a big battle at the end. But I mean, it's cornball cheesiness, but it's fun. There's room for improvement. Like a lot of the homages to other films. I think if Aquaman made little sly references about the homages they were making, it would have elevated the film. But the fact that those homages are just basically carbon copies of the other films and there's no references to them, I think that brought it down a bit. But I mean, out of all the heroes, like everyone jokes about Aquaman being the suckiest character in the Justice League. I think they play with that notion that Jason Momoa gets by on this film with his cocky, charm and but it's very beautiful to look at. Like I said, the colors are amazing. The way he shot it is good.
It doesn't look as ugly as every other DC.
Yes, exactly. And I can't wait for Jeremy to see it, see what he thinks. But that was number 8 on my list.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I will see it because there's not much else to see. I don't know how that movie's 2.5 hours though.
Yeah, but it did go by quick.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it's all right.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can do a full review of it if I see it. But yeah, my next one is number 8, which is Annihilation, which is I'm going totally blank on the director. The guy who did Ex Machina.
Yeah.
I think it's his second actual directorial film, but he wrote 28 Days Later.
That's right.
So he's been doing. He also wrote I think he wrote Sunshine.
In 2014 or something. It's Gardner, right?
Alex Gardner.
Yeah.
Wait, what is it? Alex Garland.
Let's see, Gardner. Okay,
I wonder if he's related to Judy. I don't know.
Interesting.
Maybe.
So. Yeah.
But anyway, it's starring. I almost said I had Ex Machina pulled up. I almost said it's starring Don Gleason and.
No, it's this girl, Natalie Portman.
I know. It's Natalie Portman, and I'm gonna pull up the whole name. Jennifer Jason Leigh's great in it. It's a cast of 4, kind of female scientists that are. Well, I think I believe they're all scientists. I don't know, but there's essentially this meteor hits a lighthouse. Somewhere off the coast of. I don't even know where this movie takes place. I think it's like in Georgia somewhere though, but or like. Somewhere in the southern coast, I believe, but that's not really that important. But essentially, it creates this what looks kind of like a bubble around the lighthouse, which starts growing, and it starts kind of devouring nearby towns and
terraforming,
and it just becomes this massive kind of sphere. Well, it's kind of like a bubble. It's a perfect way to describe it. And it almost has like the kind of the look of what a bubble looks like too. It's kind of an interesting visual. But anyways, Natalie Portman's husband, played by Oscar Isaac, gets sent in with a team of men, and they're gone for a full year or so, and she believes that he's dead, and then all of a sudden he shows up. And he doesn't remember what happened, and something's not quite right. And then he essentially starts bleeding and goes into a coma, and she and these other 3 scientists get sent in to discover what's going on inside of this sphere that's created. And it's a movie that it's kind of a slow burn. And it's definitely kind of a slow burn, kind of science fiction. I don't know how to describe what I like about this movie. Even it's just a movie that it has a really obviously great performances. But
is it Kubrickian slow burn like 2001 or?
I'm trying to think.
Kubrickian.
Well, I don't really know what I'd compare it to. There's not. I mean, it's a survival horror, but it dips into horror towards the third act in a way that I really, really, really enjoy. So it's a kind of a science fiction film with kind of an edge to it, which there's just this, I don't know. I don't really know. Obviously, if you've seen Ex Machina, you know that he's really good at building tension and this movie's really well shot. The performances, all those things are there, but I think it really succeeds in the science fiction level, which I'm not. I like sci-fi, but I usually when things go in that direction, like I'm more of a fan of horror. So like I love Alien, but I love the horror elements of Alien. I'm less interested in like the biology of it and the science of it. But this movie succeeds in that way. And there's a sequence. The end kind of sequence is absolutely spectacular, and it keeps me going back to this film. Like I keep wanting to watch it over and over again because I just want more of it. And this movie, like for instance, I think it was Red Letter Media that discussed in their review that they don't use the main score that's in the trailer until one of the final sequences. And it's a movie that like it saves all of its stuff for the end, right? And it's so effective in doing so. And it also leaves with kind of a mystery, which again keeps me coming back. I think this movie's based on like 3 books, so I don't know if we're gonna get a sequel to it. I don't know if I want a sequel to it. I definitely don't want a sequel to it not directed by Garland, but I don't. It's just really effective, and everybody's good in it, and it has this spectacular final sequence that's absolutely worth seeing. Unfortunately, you can't see it on the big screen, but you definitely should watch it. So anyway, it's my number 8.
So number 7 is, and I know, I don't know if you know, if you saw it. I saw it on the plane going to New York or coming back. No, going to. And believe it or not, it's like what I like about film is if it's something original, and this is far from original in the aspect of, well, actually, in the gimmick of it, it's kind of original. But the ending was a surprise ending, and I don't know, I mean, not that I didn't see it coming, like, right before the big reveal, I said, oh, wait. But it's Searching.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the movie with John Cho. And
that's been on a lot of people's lists. I haven't seen it yet.
And I saw it on the plane. I'm glad I did because, I don't have heavy hitters on my list because and again, it's something I would never went to the theater to watch. So we watched on the plane. I actually saw 4 films on the plane. Crazy Rich Asians was one of them, as was The Wife and Christopher Robin. Oh. But The Wife didn't make the list.
Is that a bad?
Christopher Robin, it's just...
I heard that was
it's like cheesy, boring English Disney film. It's like, I don't even know how to describe it. But anyway...
not good, though.
I didn't like it. I mean, maybe not even kids would like it. Like, Rhonda liked it. So that's to sum up about... Because she loves Disney. But anyway, Searching was really good. It's... As you know, the gimmick is everything's done like... look, you're watching a computer screen. If something's done, it's done by text. Images you see are either by camera setup, so you can see everything you're viewing is through a lens of something. And to give you a quick synopsis, it's a young Asian guy. And this is no spoiler. It happens in the beginning of the film. It's very sad. He loses his wife. They have a young daughter, and so he's very overprotective dad. But they have a great relationship. The dad and daughter. I guess you can see why I did dig the film. And then one day. The daughter's like, I have a routine. Oh, Dad, we're going to study, do this, do that. And she disappears. And he calls the police and they get the police involved. And Deborah Messing plays an officer who deals with these things, children who go missing. And she gets heavily involved. And he, because she tells him to, does the footwork on internet and interviews. And he realized that his daughter wasn't the person he thought she was. All the people that he sees in pictures on her social media or contacts that she has, because he actually gets into her computer that she left at the house. I knew her like hi bye, but I didn't know her. But from her daughter's things, it seemed like she was friends with these. So the mystery evolves, and then they throw in these like little red herrings here and there.
Don't get into too much.
And there's a lot of MacGuffins. But the ending came, and like I said, I didn't quite see it, and they even throw in things where, oh, we're going to go this way. And you're like, oh, shit, I knew it. And they're like, oh, wait, no, that's not it. So it's really good. It's a good guessing game. And I was I was enthralled. There was like a couple of times when the plane stops to give you a message. I was pissed. I was like, what? I was like, hurry up. And so just to watch the film. So I love The Searching, and it ended up number 7 on my list.
Is it? So I know that there's a reliance on social media as a big portion of it, right?
Throughout. Yeah.
Is it like a movie like Unfriended? Is it like I heard it? Is it actually like all done on social media?
Unfriended. You get them talking to each other, but you also see cutscenes where they're in real world. They're walking around, cameras are following them.
You're talking about Searching or Unfriended?
No, Unfriended.
Oh, okay, I haven't seen it.
That's what I say. The difference between Unfriended and Searching is that Searching's entirely done on. You'll see a computer screen pop up.
Yeah.
You'll see someone's phone screen. He hooks up cameras in his brother's house, so you can see cameras everywhere. So all this stuff is done where you're looking at it through a lens. You're not looking at it like live action. You're looking at it through these social media sites, through the computer, through FaceTime. So that's the gimmick, but the gimmick actually worked because everything's so tight too. You're confined with this dude in this hell that he's in, and it's really, really cool. So.
Yeah, I'll definitely be checking.
Yeah, check out Searching. Yeah.
Probably do that before the Bears game, maybe.
The Bears, 3:00.
Number 7, which is I have a really hard time putting this at number 7. Mm-hmm. And we've discussed it on the show that doesn't exist yet,
doesn't exist.
which is The Favorite, which is Yorgos Lanthimos. I forgot how many features he's done at this point,
Netflix.
but you should definitely watch The Lobster and Killing a Sacred Deer, and you should watch The Favorite. It's these movies are. He has a way of telling stories that is so bizarre, and they're not for everybody. But I just absolutely love his work, which is why it's hard for me to put Favorite at 7. It's I think the only thing the movie's almost perfect in every way, and it's been getting lots of praise. This isn't some kind of it's one of his most liked movies. It's on a couple of lists. It may actually get a Best Picture nomination at this point. The way that it's kind of showing up on people's lists and stuff, and I hope so because he's great, and I hope he gets a Best Director nomination for it. And obviously, all of them will get nominated for performances. But yeah, it's so good that it's almost not surprising, and that's my only problem with it. And it's not even a fault of the film, but I just feel like after I've seen this movie twice. Yeah. And on the second viewing, I felt like I had gotten what I needed from it.
Okay.
And that's why it's number 7.
Yeah.
Because it's not really a movie. I'll show this to some people, and I'll probably see it a couple more times because of that. And it's really enjoyable and entertaining and funny and dark and it's great in so many ways. But it just I didn't need to see it a bunch more. That's the only reason it's this far down the list. So yeah, that's my number 7.
So my number 6 is again, and when you look at the rest of the list, I mean I can explain, but Incredibles 2 was my number 6.
Good.
Again, Brad Bird, very good. Not as good as the first. It was almost similar to the first, which is why I think I didn't love it as much. The Jack stuff was I think what I enjoyed the most. You get to see more of Jack's powers.
Which could be used as a gimmick, but it's not. Yeah, it's really, really funny.
Yeah, it's very funny, very well written, very structured. The whole scene with the raccoon. And I also dug Bob Odenkirk's role in that whole notion of bringing back the powers. I believe it or not, I felt this Watchmen-esque feel to that whole thing, that trying to bring back the heroes. But yeah, Brad Bird, I think we talked about this in the first show. But yeah, I liked it. Incredibles 2 is number 6.
Yeah, it's great. And in fact, it's that should probably be on my honorable mentions. I just have so many movies. Yeah. I gave that one a 4 heart score, which
4 hearts
usually means honorable mentions. Yeah. Because for me, it's like the way I rate movies is like a 4-star is like one that's like that might not make my top 10, but it's worth talking about, and that's kind of where that falls for me. It's the score is really great, which is probably my favorite part of it. And it's just he writes really. Did he write it as well?
Brad Bird, yeah.
The characters are really well written, and I love the dynamic. I think my only complaint about it would be the villain is the motivation's a little weak.
Agreed.
And that's where I think it would. If that worked more effectively, I think the movie would be as good as the first one because all the other elements are as good.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I really like it. I just think that the actual story is where it kind of falls for me. But number 6, I have Assassination Nation, which is have we talked about that?
Yeah, you talked about it
on the show though.
Yeah. Yes.
Did I review it?
You went over it real quick. You glossed it over. You didn't do a full review. You were talking about Assassination Nation when you were talking about, oh my God, what was the other movie? The Korean film. When you were talking about...
The Wailing?
No, not The Wailing. The one.
Burning.
The Burning.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, Assassination, it's essentially a movie about, I forgot how many of them there are. I think it's 4. These high school girls that essentially find themselves wrapped up in well, not a conspiracy, but the small town of it's set in Salem, Oregon, which is it's supposed to kind of mirror the Salem witch trials.
Yeah.
And the entire, like, half the town gets hacked, and all of their information and text messages and stuff like that gets released. And it starts with, like, the mayor, and then it's the school teacher, and then half the town gets hacked, and it all goes to shit. But the movie, it builds that up, and these 4 girls get wrapped up in that, and the town turns on them essentially, and it becomes a witch hunt, and because they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And it's a movie. A lot of people compare it to like a Black Mirror episode, which I haven't seen, but I understand the concept of like, it's like this could happen. It's like it's a fictional story about something horrendous that can happen. Absolutely happen. Whereas a lot of people compare this to like The Purge, which it's very much that. It reminds people say it's Black Mirror meets The Purge.
Yeah.
But it's really stylish, and which is where I like the Purge movies. They're not good, but
I love the Purge movies.
They lack style, and they are the ugliest films I've seen in a long time. And this one just has such a vibrance to the way it's shot, and the characters are very unlikable, but the movie kind of knows that, and they embrace it. And there's just these great sequences where they're just walking in line down the schoolyard to and it cuts to slow-mo, and this movie, it's hard to describe. When you're watching it, you're like, this is really visually spectacular, and I think that's the reason this movie works, or one of the reasons at least. But it's my buddy watched it recently and was just like, this movie's terrifying. I'm like, yeah, it's scarier than some of the horror films I've seen this year, without it being a horror film. Like just the concept of kind of all of your personal information being released to the world at once, and what people would do with that is really terrifying. The film kind of captures that in a great way. And
I was looking up the director to see, but he's only done one other film.
Yeah, so, and I'm excited to see what else he's got. But in this movie's, so my only complaint about it would be that it does, and this is essentially my review of it because we didn't talk about it in length, but it has a lot of ideas, and I think it doesn't quite handle them all very well.
Yeah.
But it's really stylish, and it's really effective, and I love watching it. It has like the genre elements like The Purge, but they're shot really well, and and the movie earns them, so it feels like something that could actually happen.
Yeah.
So that's Assassination Nation, and that's
my number 5.
6. Yeah.
So here's the top 5, and again, I can't wait to get to the other one so you can fight with me. And this one is surprising because we just saw it on Tuesday, and the reason why we did, because my daughter saw it without us, now we were going to see it without them, blah blah blah, and it surprised me, and I'll get to it because I'm talking about Fantastic Beasts: Crimes of Grindelwald. Now I saw the Fantastic Beasts and how to find them, where they find them, and it was okay. It wasn't a return to the Harry Potter. David Yates directs all of them now, and J.K. Rowling wrote that as well. But this one, and again, I guess it's more geeky, why I liked it a lot, and it beat out Incredibles 2. Like I said, Incredibles 2 had nothing new besides the Jack, and maybe a performance by Bob Odenkirk. But when you're watching films like this, like Star Wars or any type of a franchise film, as they get older, you're like, nothing new. Everything's boring, blah, blah, blah. But with Fantastic Beasts, and I know it's kind of stupid to know because it is before the Harry Potter universe. It's 50 years before. But like a lot of the characters, like you see these people, and you've been showing in part 1, but then in part 2 you realize who they are and how they relate to the Harry Potter universe and where everything starts to form. And unlike episode 1, 2, and 3, which did nothing for the Star Wars universe, or even Indiana Jones 4. It was just really good, and it engrossed me, and I sat there like, I was like, holy shit, no, and then holy shit, and then the ending, and I'm not giving nothing away. I mean, I'm not sure where you are with the Harry Potter universe, if you gave up on that when you were a kid.
I don't think I've seen all of them except for the last one.
The last one. And it was the big reveal at the end of this film, which shocked the shit out of me. And like I said, one minute, like I was like, oh no, and then movie, holy shit, movie. And then the ending was like, they did almost like with what was it, like Searching, where they threw things at you. That ending was a big reveal. And I mean, like I said, I know you said you're not invested. I mean, that is a movie for kids mostly, but I was just floored. And it was like it beat out most of these films on the list because I went into it expecting what, and I ended up coming out like loving it. Like, holy cow, that was really good. And that's why I picked number 5, Fantastic Beasts, Crimes of Grindelwald.
Fair enough. I haven't seen. The
Yeah, I was gonna say, I forget that that's not you.
Or the last Harry Potter.
Or the last Harry Potter film.
I'll get right on that.
You should see his face.
They're fine. I have no problem with them really. They're long as shit, but they're good. That's my review of all the Harry Potter.
He just summed up Harry Potter in one minute.
Number 5, which I actually just watched recently, made the family watch it. Bad Times at the El Royale.
Oh yeah. I've been dying to see this movie.
Which is Drew Goddard. Goddard or is it Goddard?
I said Goddard, like the original master author.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Who directed Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
And he also did is it Daredevil? Did he do Daredevil?
He wrote and directed episodes of Daredevil.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I think it's only his second feature.
Yeah, he also did Clover. He wrote Cloverfield. Wait, what did he direct? No,
you can look that up. But yeah, it's a movie about it's kind of an ensemble film about a singer that checks into this hotel that's seemingly kind of empty.
Yeah, Cabin in the Woods and Bad Times Right. He's written.
He's only directed those 2 movies.
Yeah,
so it's his second feature directed. And I mean, both those movies are Cabin in the Woods is amazing. And this is just great as well.
We saw that together.
Oh, that's true. That was the first time. That's when I met you.
Kara and John. Yeah.
That's the first time I met you. Yeah. No, maybe not. I think I went to.
No. You went to the Dillards, and that was the first time we chilled.
But yeah, so essentially the singer checks into a hotel along with 4 other people. I believe I'm going blank on how many of them there are. It's Jeff Bridges, John Hamm, the girl from, I should know her name. She's great in this from 50 Shades of Grey. What's her name?
The daughter, Dakota Johnson.
Dakota Johnson. Yeah, she's definitely she's like one of those people that like 50 Shades will not impact her career. I think we all know her from that, but this is proof of she's a great actor, even in just a smaller role like this. And John Hamm, Jeff Bridges, who else?
The singer Cynthia, and then you got Chris Hemsworth who shows up later. Nick Offerman's in it.
Yeah. So anyway, there's a great cast, really great cast, and it's essentially you kind of find out that none of these people are who they are or who we think they are. And there's things start happening in the hotel, and the movie's told from. So what it'll do is show you a chapter which is told from one person's perspective, and then it cuts back and it shows you kind of how the other people got there, and so you find out how they all get there and how they intertwine. And it's really stylish. It's really well directed. I mean, this movie's it has a great. I don't know. Jeff Bridges gives one of the best performances of the year in this movie. Like he's so good in it.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking, and he's amazing in this. And everybody, like the lead, who is also in Widows. Let me get her name because she's gonna be a star.
The girl, Cynthia. I just told you, Cynthia Erivo.
But yeah, she plays the singer in Bad. She's the lead in this, and she just jumps off the screen. I mean, she's such a great presence, and the dynamic between her and Jeff Bridges is fantastic. There's an amazing sequence in this film between the two. It's just it's like a Tarantino scene where the 2 characters just sit down in a booth and talk, and that's where Jeff Bridges gives just an amazing performance. But and it's. I love the way the story is told, and I love the way it's shot, and I love the characters, and it reminds me of the things I like about Tarantino. Just it's a movie that gives these characters time to interact, and everybody gets their time, and it balances them really well, and then Chris Hemsworth just comes in and has so much fun. It's there's a few moments in it feel a little bit contrived, but it's overall just a really good time, and just surprised that people don't like it more, but
not everyone's critics top 10, but a lot of people dug it. I got a lot of good reviews.
Yeah, I mean, I think it got like a 70.
I think
70%
people didn't go
critics
see
liked
it. I think that's the problem. People are like,
Yeah.
But
I wish more people saw it.
yeah, no, I'm dying to see that's a film, like I said, Gloriana's 14. These are films she wants to see, but we can't take JC and Emma because they're going to be bored. But I definitely want to see that. She wants to see it. Rhonda wanted to see it. So
everybody liked it too. I showed it to the whole family. So it's great. That's my number 5.
Okay, so for number 4, and it's funny because before we get to the top 3, which I just go, so this is the last of the big studio films, basically. And I put it here because and it's funny because I was talking to Rhonda about it and she was like, well, that should be number 1. And I'm like, but should it though? Is Bohemian Rhapsody. And Rami Malek's performance is what drives this film. He's an amazing actor. I'm glad I've known him since Mr. Robot.
He's great, Mr. That show's so good.
And even though like the facts and figures were a bit off, and the rest of the band comes off as, you're talking about one note, it's like this, hey, they come in to chime in and then they disappear. It was really amazing performance from Rami Malek. I'm a big Queen fan. The music drives through, and even though some of the songs were out of order, it was just, it told a story. And I mean, a lot of biopics come out during the years, and I think I've seen 2 others, but I love this one. It's, it's rousing, it's emotional, it gets you all amped up. And so that's my number 4 film.
Cool. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, that's why you can't talk about it. What's your number 4 film?
Number 4 is a movie we reviewed earlier, which is Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse.
Okay, yeah. So we don't have to go into that. I do want to see Spider-Man, and hopefully when the kids come back on the 19th, that's the movie we see.
It's great. I walked out going that will be in my top 5.
Top 5.
Like it's a 6-star movie is the way I describe it.
Like a 6-star. And it's funny. I didn't say before because we talked at length. I think it's funny because if Disney gave the Phil Lord and Chris Miller a chance, I think Solo would have been a bigger hit than
absolutely.
what it was. And
No
I get angry because now they're seeing this and they're seeing this movie being like the number 1 film, the top critics films. And I'm pretty sure they're kicking themselves in the ass. They should have given him the chance. And I think they got nervous. And I'm like trying to think in my head, like, who ratted them out to say, oh, this is going bad because of this? I mean, I know they see the dailies and they said it was kind of too funny. But you had Rogue One in this standalone universes that was really dark and gritty, which was amazing. And it was okay to like take all the little comedy bits from Star Wars and amp it up to make it a funny, because Han Solo was this like, snarky, cocky asshole.
It totally would work.
And it would have worked. And they just didn't give him the chance.
I like Solo, but
I did too. But I didn't. I wouldn't. If you put all the movies in the list, it's right before the top, the original whatever trilogy he wants to call the 1, 2, and 3, and that's how bottom it falls. But anyway, so that was number 4 you did. Mm-hmm. So here's gonna be the laughing. So I picked Apostles number 3 because I put all the movies I saw, and again, like I said, I rated by how really great they were. Production value, storyline, acting, and Apostle was I was impressed by Apostle. I'm glad you picked that for us to watch. But like I told you, I didn't like the ending. Like the ending kind of fell flat to me.
Sure. And
I wanted more for the ending, and I didn't get it. And I could go into the spiritualness of that at the end of him becoming one with the island. Just
it makes sense. I think
it does, but it wasn't what I wanted. I wanted more. But yeah, I picked that as number 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which was number 3.
My number 3, which we've talked about on the show. I don't know if we talked about it on the show that doesn't exist, which is Widows.
Oh yeah, that's right. Widows. Oh, Widows.
Steve McQueen's movie.
Yeah.
Yep, a movie that's not being talked about as much as it should be.
Yeah, it's funny because it had its drive, and then it's like not on the list either.
I think the problem is the way it was marketed.
Yeah,
I know we briefly talked about that in the episode that doesn't exist, but
it doesn't exist.
It was sold as kind of this by the numbers crime thriller and not the Oscar-winning movie that it deserves to be shown as. Because it is, I don't know. This movie's failed in every way to be marketed effectively, and
I could agree with that. I agreed with you last time too. I want to see it. That's a movie that's prized for me and Rhonda. I'm surprised. I'm looking at all the lists. I was going over the list yesterday with Rhonda because she was trying to do the homework for me, pulling up all these top 10 lists, and out of maybe the 10 or 20 lists we watched, Widows was like up 2, and I was like, damn, I see, Jeremy loved this film and it's got a great director. I'm like, I wonder why, but I guess you're right. It's the marketing, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. So my number 2 is, and he's gonna laugh, and I'm glad that he's already resigned himself to say, whatever. But again, I know after just talking about Apostle has some great performances. I love Bird Box. After all the memes, after all the negative stuff people were saying online, and I didn't even go in wanting to hate it. Let me just see what it's about, get it out of the way. Rhonda, we were picking movies. She went back to work on Wednesday, and she was like, "Well, I want to see it because everyone's going to be talking about it." And we watched it, and I know all the negative things that Jeremy says, and there are some things that he might be right about that'll make me think about it again when I watch it again. But I liked it, and then people say, "Oh, the ending was horrible," and I was like, "Well, let me see what this ending is." And it fit for the tone of the film, for everything that happened. You needed some type of sappy ending for the film to end. And again, I'm not giving away spoilers. And it was fine for the film. I will say this though, I mentioned it before, and I didn't get into it because he was just destroying the film. So what I love about films, and again, I guess you can consider this a horror film.
Yeah, it is.
So what I love about the spiritualness, and again, not to throw in a big speech at the end, but I'm from New York. I'm Puerto Rican. We have a very spiritual background, more Roman Catholicism. But I grew up going back and forth in religion, and I not studied religion, but I've been through a few of them. I love the whole notion of demonic forces, and not per se as like an exorcist or whatnot, because that's just basically on the devil. Even though Pazuzu's not the devil, he's a demon in his dominion. But it's like, I like that Charlie's character, Little Rel's character, throws out all these stories because, again, now watching all the explanations, not that I needed any explanations. Rhonda is the kind of person who wanted a little bit more for the ending. I accepted it in the film. And like I said, if Gary's pictures were never shown, maybe I would want more. But after Charlie's little speech and seeing the pictures, it summed up everything. And there's one thing that we didn't talk about. I know you really probably don't even care anymore. But one of the demon pictures was Cthulhu, and the whole notion, and that makes sense with the followers because Cthulhu is a demon, one of the old gods that had followers that wanted to bring upon the destruction of the world. And I think that was interesting that Cthulhu was there. Not that he was the one main mentioned. The main one he mentioned is a manipulative demon that uses people as puppets. And if you look at one of the, I think Jeremy would like some of the explanations of the little things that they showed in the film that leads to all the reasons of why this happened to the people. But I like that. And like I said, I like that whole demonology thing. I like the Cthulhu thing. I like the whole Parnassus artwork and how it was just structures of prisons and how we're caught, the demon, the one that manipulates, puts you in prison in your mind because like the woman, as you mentioned, John Malkovich's wife, who says, "Oh, Mom," and she sees her mother, and it traps her in that box. So what she sees is whatever her mom is there alive, and whatever her mom probably said, "Oh, come drive to my house," and she got in the car and whatever. So I'm saying it's like all these little explanations actually did flesh it out better for me. Not that I needed them, but it did flesh it out stronger on what the creatures were, and then what people were seeing, and how horrific they saw. Because again, being that a lot of people, I want to see the monster. Like he said, when you do see in the Quiet Place, there's a little bit too much. Cloverfield too, like you want to see Cloverfield just like Jaws. And at the end, I love the Cloverfield monster, no matter what. Super 8. There wasn't enough in 10 Cloverfield Lane, I felt, but I didn't mind that. And
I disagree. I think there was way too much in 10 Cloverfield Lane.
In 10 Cloverfield Lane, they didn't show any freaking monster.
I wish.
Oh, they wish they were
not in there.
Oh, okay. Well, he didn't want it to be a Cloverfield film.
I love that movie, though.
Yeah,
really.
But anyway, so that's my reasoning for Bird Box being number 2. Go.
So my response to that is summed up by perfectly by a film critic named Emily Yoshida from New York Magazine, who says, "I care as much about the people who ran around in its fiction now as I did before I watched them for 2 hours," which is to say, not at all. About Bird Box.
Bird Box. Which
perfectly sums up how I care.
I'm glad this movie, that movie alone made this episode over an hour and a half, just so you know. Go on.
We're at an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, so go on. Number 2.
2 is, which could easily be number 1 and any other year would be, is Blind Spotting, which is just a spectacular film.
That's on a lot of lists.
David Diggs and Rafael Casal. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but it's set in Oakland. It's about a former convict who is released from prison but has to stay in kind of a halfway house for, I think it's a year. And it's set in the last 3 or 4 days of his year of probation in this halfway house, and he is trying to kind of stay on the straight track. And his friend, played by Rafael Casal, I forget their names in the movie, but is kind of a troublemaker, and they work in kind of they work in for like a moving company. Yeah, and they move shit around, and they throughout the whole film they set up these raps while they do it, and so they kind of like jokingly kind of go back and forth, and will write songs and stuff like that, which ties into the entire film, and in the climax of the film, which is one of the best scenes of the whole year, if not the best. I mean, it's amazing. And it's a movie about kind of the city of Oakland. It's very rich in Oakland culture, and it feels like you're there in a way that, like, I would compare it to like Do the Right Thing, and not just because it's a movie about.
Is it Do the Right Thing?
Not just because it's a movie about black people, but
no, I got you.
But because it just has a really great sense of culture and place, and
Do the Right Thing is one of my favorite New York films.
This movie really captures that, and I don't know, the dynamic between the two leads is amazing. The two of them are just, they have so much chemistry, and they're fun to watch.
Like they're writing partners and stuff. They've known each other for a long time.
Yeah, and David Diggs is on, is it Hamilton, I think?
Yeah.
And Rafael Casal.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He's good in Blackish.
He's great in this. Both of them are just, I mean, I think they could both get nominated. They're both amazing in this. Rafael Casal kind of steals the show here, but because he plays the louder character. But they're both great, and so Rafael Casal is also a rapper. He's an Oakland rapper. But anyway, the movie has a great sense of place. It's a great way of building tension. It's just very, very funny, but also moving and emotional. And I just think this movie, it hits all the things for me. It's visually interesting to watch, but really, I think the center focal point of it is the relationship between the two characters, and he's a white guy living in Oakland that's may or may not be appropriating black culture and wearing a grill and doing certain things that but he's lived there his whole life, and the movie also talks about like gentrification and kind of how the way their city's being changed by that. There's this kind of theme of oak trees, which is I think you'll see in a lot of signs in the film. Just kind of an Oakland oak tree is like a symbol of that city. And early in the film, there's a scene with Newman from Seinfeld. Oh, okay. And he sells paintings, and one of them is like a highway, kind of like our Beltway. It's like there's a bunch of highways interconnecting, and there's an oak tree growing out of it. And he describes it as like they're cutting us down. That's essentially the way he describes it, and so there's this kind of underlying tension because of that, because of gentrification, but also because of you have just these, like they describe it as like these hipsters moving into town, and so there's all of that going on, and the movie handles that all really well. But there's also an interesting conflict about law enforcement, and in regard, I think this is a political film. So if you agree with its politics or not, that's one thing, but it still works as a story about these two characters and kind of the conflicts and the struggles of their everyday lives. But it's also very funny and very entertaining, and I could watch this movie. I've watched it like 2 or 3 times in a single day with different people, and it's just amazing. I think a lot of people are talking about it. I think that it's almost become like a joke. It's almost become a trope that people are like, not enough people are talking about this movie. We get it. People are talking about Blind Spotting. We know it exists. It is great though, and I think it's a really underrated movie this year, and I think it'll be a cult classic. Like I think it's definitely that kind of movie. So I love it.
Well, that's good.
It's my number 2.
So my number 1, and again, like you guys, I saw 25 films this year, and out of 25 films, I rate it as a movie that I can watch multiple times. Jeremy's already mentioned how many times he's watched this film, and not only because of I'm a nerd, I'm a geek, I love comic books, I love things like that. It's also the drama. I mean, I think out of all the films, and mostly the Cap films have been dramatic, but Avengers: Infinity War left me walking on theater sobbing almost, and I mean. Not only because it's a great story, the snap is one of the greatest moments I think in any. I mean, he could laugh, whatever, but in any film, including superhero films. But it was just the buildup of this 10 years of watching these movies and seeing these characters, finally come together for this giant, bad guy, the big bad, whatever you want to call it. But I just thought it was amazing. I've seen the film. If he saw it 6 times, I can probably tell you more. If anything, I just fast forward just to the snap, and we watched the snap again because I love watching the snap over and over. But I think Avengers: Infinity War is still one of my favorite films, and if not the best film of the year for me. And I put it number 1 here. What's your number 1?
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's actually the reason that I have top 15 is because of movies like Avengers. It's great. And it converted me over to being a Marvel fanboy.
Yeah. Good. Wow.
I went back and watched all the movies because of that.
That's amazing.
Anyway, my favorite film of the year, which when I saw it, I think there was no way that anything would top it. And I don't think anything has. Blind Spotting came close, but Hereditary is my favorite of the year.
Oh yes, on everyone's number 1 list almost. Yeah.
And I think it's a directorial debut from Ari Aster, and I think it's just such a meticulously well-made, well-crafted, well-told story. So it has all those things going for it.
Yeah.
But it's also a really interesting movie about grief and how a family deals with that, and the way that it kind of tears them apart. And so it works as a movie about grief, but then it becomes a horror film.
Oh yeah.
And some people have complained about the fact that it becomes that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's like that.
People didn't know it was a horror film. It was sold as a horror film.
Yeah, it was, and so it's like
highbrow horror.
You can't not deliver on that. But at the same time, it could have just been a family drama, and it would have been perfectly fine.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Apparently, he cut like an hour out of the movie.
Is it on the DVD?
I hope so. I don't know. I haven't had a chance to go through it.
I
do own it, but I think I do. Yeah.
Isn't there a director's cut of it?
I don't
deleted scenes. It should be deleted scenes, right? No.
Anyway. I bought the movie without looking at any of that stuff.
But that's okay.
I haven't looked
That's
at it since. But yeah, it's not only is it meticulously well made and well directed, and just everybody's spectacular in it, and everybody gets their time. This is another film that like it's 3 or 4 characters, and and that's it, and it's like that's all we need, and it really gives each person the time that they need for us to care about them. And then something happens in the middle of the movie. Have you seen it yet?
No.
Oh my god!
My daughter, she wants to see it. I gotta get it.
That turns the film on its head, and it's one of the boldest things I've seen all year. And when it happened, I went, "This is spectacular!" Like it's daring and it's bold, and it I don't know, and it completely changes the whole dynamic of the film. And I had like a physical reaction to this movie, and that's usually what, like when I have a top 10 list, that's usually kind of like movies like Whiplash or like The Guest, like the movies that just they work for me on a deep level. This one not only like got under my skin in a way that like horror films. I mean, we watch a lot of horror films,
of course,
but this one, there's something about this, and like there's just in the way that it tells its story, and the way that it details things that we don't even see on screen, that allows you to fill in with your own imagination the horrors that come from that, especially with the dynamic between like Toni Collette and her mother. Toni Collette, right?
Yeah, Toni Collette. Yeah.
And I mean, there's just so many interesting little details to this film, and I've seen it several times, and I can't get enough of it, and I love it. It's my favorite film of 2018.
Yeah, no, I mean it's. I think, like I said, I saw about 20 top 10 lists, and it's on 80% of them. Yeah, and so I definitely want to see it. I mean, that's a movie that definitely I want to see with Glow. So yeah, I'm glad. I mean, it was a good list. I mean, I think we covered almost all the movies this year. But,
yeah, I mean, there's so many freaking movies this year. I mean, this is a great year for it was. We're in 2019 now.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I mean, there's so, and one that I noticed while we were going through our list that should at least be in my honorable mentions is Burning. Burning left it just like I can't stop thinking about that movie. And it's like there's just so many movies this year. I mean,
Well, I think maybe next time we get together, we'll do Roma. We can review Roma.
Yeah,
That's
Roma.
on Netflix,
Yeah, I'll go see Aquaman. We can do
Yeah,
more
we can do a
detailed
better
discussion of
detail.
that.
Yeah, we can definitely fight about that. Yeah.
You even had like Deadpool 2 and Solo.
I had that. I had Deadpool 2 and Solo on my honorable mention. I cut it. I was like, nah, because Deadpool 1 was better.
Yeah, there's just, Split came out last year. Never mind.
Yeah.
We do have Glass coming up.
next week.
And I mean, it's.
Yeah,
Ballad of Buster Scruggs. There's so
I was
many.
getting the Ballad of Buster Scruggs. I watched the other day, and I was like,
I'm just looking through my list because I keep track of all the movies I
Yeah.
watch, and I just Mission Impossible Fallout. I forgot about that. Holy shit, that's a great movie.
yeah, I actually got on a couple.
Won't You Be
lists.
My Neighbor? There's.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Yeah, you didn't mention that either.
Jesus Christ, there's so. I mean,
Point is, there's a
amazing
lot
year.
of movies we didn't mention, but yeah, I got it bad.
but yeah, no worries. We've been talking for an hour and 54 minutes,
So let's
we're gonna wrap it up.
Wrap this up.
That's it for episode 21.
21. That's a big list. There's a big movies there. So, but 2019 got a lot of movies coming up, so we should have a lot to talk about this year.
Yeah, it should be fun. We've got actual mics to talk about them into.
Mic check on. Yeah. All right. Well then, thank you for tuning in. We will see you next time for episode 22, where we'll definitely do Roma, and then he's gonna watch Aquaman, so we can discuss Aquaman, and then whatever 1,000 of movies he watches, we can go over those. So for this episode, I'm Carlos Hernandez.
I'm Jeremy Knight.
And you guys take care.